Yes, Geordies, welcome back to another episode. The first thing I want to say, as always, I hope everyone's well. The second thing I want to say is the weather's absolutely brutal today. Third thing I want to say is Wissa's been overpriced. Strand Larsen's been overpriced. Samu got injured yesterday. Goncalo Ramos wants to stay at PSG. Where do we go from here? And do you know what? I'm still smiling. I'm still optimistic because I do generally think there's still strikers out there that we could bring in. And we're going to be talking about 4 of them in this episode. But off the top of my head, there's loads of strikers. There's Moise Keane of Fiorentina, Lucas Stassin at Saint Etienne, Matthias Ablein, Promise David, Victor Boniface, Santiago Castro, Marcos Leonardo, Mohamed Miamete, George Ilakaneka. So there are plenty of strikers out there that we could sign that just don't have Premier League experience. But you know what? Neither did Yoane Wissa when he first come. Neither did Alexander Isak when he first come. But look, guys, jokes aside, I think it's about time we will walk away from Yoane Wissa because 60 million is outrageous for a player with 1 year left on his contract. You know what I would do in this situation? I'd ring Brentford up straight away and just be like, you know what? You keep him. You let him run down his contract and leave on a free next summer. With all this PSR surrounding the Premier League clubs, that's going to help you, isn't it? Honestly, I would generally ring them and say we're not interested anymore because 40 million was a fair valuation. Even I was thinking 40 million was too high at one point with 1 year left on his contract. Brentford should have actually flew out Wissa to us because that 40 million is more than enough for a player like Yoane Wissa with 1 year left on his contract. Do you know what else I would do? I would ring his agent and be like, do you know what? Get him back to training because he is acting like a little man-child. What are we doing here? Are we 12 years old again? It reminds us of kids in play schools. If I can't be on his team, I'm not going to play anymore. Like, what are we doing, guys? So I'd ring his agent and say, tell Yoane Wissa to get his act together, grow up, be grateful for what he has, and get back to the training, get back to playing, and seeing you want to play for Brentford. We'll still negotiate with Brentford, but just act professional because we've already got a man-child. We don't want yours. That's exactly what I'll be saying to his agent. Like, what are we doing, guys? It's blown my mind because it's absolutely petulant. Anyways, enough about that. Let's get on with the episode because, and to be brutally honest, I need to stay consistent what I always say. Just because a player doesn't work at one club doesn't mean it won't work out with your club. One club's trash is another club's treasure, and I consistently say that. So when we are looking at players, I don't generally look at how bad they were at a certain club. I look at what they can bring to our team. But whoever's in charge of recruitment right now, the first question I'll be asking Eddie Howe is, what type of profile of striker do you want? Do you want somebody that's going to consistently run in behind? Do you want somebody that's going to consistently drop in deep, link up play? And I think it all depends on what midfielders we use. So I'm going to be talking about this throughout this episode because remember, profiles and partnerships create a successful team. Doesn't matter about the name that you bring in. If you're bringing in his attributes that complement the others on the pitch, that's where you bring a successful and winning side. Right, guys, we're going to do a little bit of a change because I'm changing this video. I've just recorded the whole video and I started editing the video, but then Newcastle United confirmed interest in Jørgen Strand Larsen. So would I really be a Newcastle United content creator to make 2 videos a day just to post 1? Absolutely not. And would I really let you guys down like that? We get linked to a player and I'm recording a video about players we're not even linked to. Oh, Antonio, man. So we're going to be removing Lewis Apinda. See you later. Ciao. Adios. Goodbye. And we're going to be replacing him with Jørgen Strand Larsen. I'm going to give you my thoughts. We're going to be looking at his style of play and his shot map. And then I want to know your thoughts. Because what did I tell you yesterday? If any of you guys watched my video yesterday, I said Newcastle United had Jørgen Strand Larsen higher than Samu and Goncalo Ramos on their list. You guys really need to start listening to a man go. It's like I'm just some kind of fruit. Doesn't make sense. But you know what? I'm starting to try and deliver you the news. I'm putting in little hints throughout my videos and they're just going over your head. Maybe you should start listening better. Now I'm only playing with you guys. Did say I didn't know if it was true or not, but it looks like it might be true. So I'm going to give you my thoughts. I feel like this is a very difficult deal to do. 1, because they've lost Matthias Cunha. 2, because they've just made it a permanent transfer. And 3, because having Larsen gives them the best chance of staying in the Premier League. Now, I've heard through the grapevine, I don't know if this is true again. I'm not an in the know type of person. I just know a couple of agents and I speak to them about the deals that are going on. And they told me yesterday Wolves value Strand Larsen at 75 million because that's how important he is to them this season. So you've got to think about this transfer from a Wolves perspective. They want to remain in the Premier League. Having Strand Larsen gives them the best opportunity to do so, especially with Matthias Cunha leaving. For argument's sake, let's say we slap down 60 million, which I believe is too expensive as it is because I've only just signed him for 25 million. But that's 60 million. They will earn more than 60 million just by remaining in this Premier League alone, because the three main aspects, and there's more than this, these are just the three main ones that happens when you drop down in the Championship is money from league positions, because you get paid by your league position. TV broadcasting money is absolutely incredibly different in the Premier League to it is in the Championship, but also brand sponsorships remain the same, if not more, if you can stay in the Premier League. Because if you've got a 3-year deal with a brand sponsorship, within that contract they'll have, if you get relegated, that sponsorship we paying you reduces to 50%. So the money coming in from merchandise, everything reduces when you get relegated. And that's why Wolves are valuing Strand Larsen so highly, and that's why I think it's a difficult deal to do. If you're asking me personally, my opinion, and opinions on facts, so I could be wrong here. If I'm looking at this, I'm probably thinking they're starting at 75 million, but they know for a fact they would sell it about 50 million probably. They've doubled their money. 55 million, 60 million, around that mark would probably get Strand Larsen. So what would he bring? The first thing I want to say is it's a complete different profile to Alexander Isak. So he's more of a traditional number 9. He's got underrated mobility, and that's what I'll give him. He's consistently roaming around the final third in running channels, and he actually does a lot of running for a man of his size. He stands at 6'4". So what does he bring? He's got strong holder play. He's strong at receiving under pressure, using his physicality. Now, there is areas for improvement in that aspect. Now, when it comes to link up, it's all about layoff passes. So you need midfield runners, and that's where you get the best out of Strand Larsen. That's why Jacob Ramsey could be ideal partnership with Strand Larsen, because Strand Larsen needs runners off him to get the best out of what he's trying to do. Now, one of his standout features is inside the penalty box. He's a 6-yard predator. Sharp movement, powerful, attacks the ball with pace, can score from tight angles. I really like his efficiency inside the box. That's where you're going to get the best out of him. So with a player like Anthony Elanga, who likes to deliver crosses, similar to the profile we're seeing with Chris Wood, where he's got that presence inside that penalty area. He attacks the ball well. And we've seen in Wolves last season, he knows how to score goals. So Anthony Elanga would thrive with a profile like Jørgen Strand Larsen. So just to recap, in possession, he likes to lay off the ball, just use short, quick combinations. He doesn't dwell on the ball too much. He doesn't get heavily involved in the build-up play. But despite his size, he's really mobile, makes aggressive runs, he's direct and attacks space really well. Now, the areas for improvement are releasing triggers, occasionally delays passes or chooses the wrong option, especially under pressure. Now, also conversion rate. Now, I'm guessing you'll be surprised at us saying that one. He does tend to snatch your chances a little bit, but I love the position and the aggression he has in the penalty box. Now, this one might surprise some people as well, but when watching him, when scouting him, taking notes on him, his heading technique, despite his size, he's not really dominant when he's dueling. When he's got space to head the ball, that's where he's elite. But when he's dueling with aggressive defenders, he just needs better improvement on his timing and his net control, and that would just unlock more goals. So let's have a look at his shot location and his shot selection. So if we start with the image above, that's his shot selection. I quite like this. There's a nice variety between top corner, bottom corner, different types of angles, corners. The only negative I would say on the top image is try and get away from those central shots. Make it harder for the goalkeeper to save. But if we look at the bottom image, yeah, he only expected to score 10 goals in the Premier League last season. He scored 14, which is absolutely excellent. He got 54 shots. I would like to see a little bit more, if I'm being honest, but that's probably down to Wolves not being able to dominate games. The shot volume would increase coming at Newcastle United, but you can clearly see where he likes to get his shots from, and he likes to get into that right half space in the penalty area. So if you compare it to the left half space, there's not many shots there. Now, what do I always say about my strikers? I want them to get in the 6-yard box. As you can see, 3 out of his 14 goals came in the 6-yard box, but he's taken a lot of shots in the 6-yard box, which is very pleasing. Because once you're in that 6-yard box, you can score all types of goals, whether that be a deflection, a rebound, first-time finish. It gives a goalkeeper so many problems. And did you know that Strand Larsen was the only player to have 100% record shots from outside the box? He had 2 shots from outside the box last season, 2 goals. Now, the only thing I would like to cut out here is I would like to have him a little bit more variation, not just always on the right-hand side. I would like to see him get some shots off on the left-hand side, but I would also try and cut those shots out from those wider angles, because as you can see, the majority of these goals come centrally. So I would be saying to him, every time you enter that box, get yourself centrally, because once he's centrally, you've got a bigger target to hit. Makes it more difficult for the goalkeeper to score, but it also gives you more options when you're coming to place your shots. Look, it's easy what you're going to get with Strand Larsen. You're going to get a big profile, a big presence, a box-efficient striker. Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, oh, we're getting Erling Haaland 2.0. Well, if I compare him to Erling Haaland, inside the box are not too dissimilar. But when they come outside the box, I would say Strand Larsen gets involved in the play more. So you're probably sitting there thinking, oh, we're getting Weghorst that was at Man United. Not quite, because I think two things kill in football: pace and movement. If you don't have pace, make sure you have the movement and you have the tactical demands to get the best out of what you have. And I think that's what you're going to get with Strand Larsen. So I would say comparing him to Weghorst, he's got so much better movement than Weghorst, and that's how he causes defenders problems. But look, guys, I want to hear from you. Would you welcome Strand Larsen at St. James's Park? Let me know in the comments below. I'm guessing this would be a Wissa replacement, so it doesn't necessarily unlock the doors for Isak to leave. So we could possibly have Isak, Strand Larsen, and William Asula. That's if Isak wants to play, because God knows what's going to happen with him. But let's move on with the episode. But speaking about dynamic, and if you want a big transitional threat in that final third and you want to be a counter-attacking team, Emanuel Emegha would be that guy. So let's speak about him first of all. He's at Strasbourg at the minute and they're asking for about 25 million euros. Now, the reason why I say 25 million euros is because Chelsea are likely and in talks to buy him for 25 million euros. But we all know Strasbourg and Chelsea are owned by the same company. So I'm guessing if somebody else tried to buy him, that 25 million euros would probably be 35 million euros. But he is already gathering interest from other clubs. Roma's have inquired, Leipzig, Dortmund, and others have all inquired about Emanuel Emegha. So since he's arrived at Strasbourg, he's played 61 games, scored 23 goals, provided 5 assists. He's got that European experience. Now, this would be a smart investment because I know firsthand that Blue Core Chelsea believe that he will be valued at around 50-60 million in about a year or 18 months time. So you're probably sitting there thinking, why would Blue Core want to sell him if he's going to be valued at that? Because Chelsea and Blue Core and Strasbourg are run by consortiums, and we all know Chelsea, Blue Core, Strasbourg love a pound note. So what do consortiums do? They buy and sell assets. Their whole model is around buying and selling assets. That's why you see them buying somebody for 10 million, selling them for 12 million. Because that extra 2 million is just pure profit for them. So at the right price, they would be happy to sell. So what type of player is Emegha? Well, he's 6'4" and he's 22 years old. Remember, he's 6'4" when I go through his description. He's got a blend of raw athleticism, explosive movement, physical presence, and insane endurance. He was recorded as the quickest player in Liga last season, and he covered the most distances for sprints with 463 meters per game. Explosive in transitions, dynamic in transitions. Just imagine him with Anthony Gordon one side and Anthony Elanga the other side. That is absolutely frightening. So what I've just said there about his sprint speed and his distance covered makes him a powerful runner, threat in transitions. He's a player that prefers attacking space rather than dropping deep and linking up play. So we're going to be talking about a complete different profile to Emegha in a second. This is why I was saying Eddie Howe needs to identify what type of striker he wants. Because when you've got Emegha, I would partner him with an attacking midfielder. And I'll speak about why, because you're not going to get much creativity from Emegha. So you need that creativity from elsewhere. You want Emegha running the channels, getting them behind, making the defenders run towards their own goal. Because if you ask any defender out there, whether it be Virgil van Dijk or somebody playing in Ligue 1, they hate runners in behind. So he's not a player that will drop deep, get involved in play, take on 4 or 5 men. He's a player that when a midfielder receives a ball, he'll look to attack space. And I don't mind that in a striker. So when it comes to tactical flexibility, he's a player that likes to play centrally. So when he does get involved in play, he's solid when he's shielding the ball. He can hold off defenders. He's got a nice, he's very slender and slim, but he's big, rangy, gangly, and it's so difficult for defenders to knock him off the ball. He's not an elite technician, but he's comfortable in possession. He's got an unorthodox dribbling style where it doesn't look comfortable, but it works for him. But when he does get on the ball, he's extremely direct. So he's 2 areas for improvement. He can lose the ball under pressure because he's not an elite technician, like I said, but he's decent under pressure. It's not like he's absolutely terrible. And then progressive passes. He's got limited creativity. He's got good link-up play when it comes to little layoffs, flick-ons. But when it comes to final third combinations, that's something that he would have to improve on. But again, if I had a striker like Emegha, I would be saying, right, I don't want you involved in play. That's okay. I'm good with that. I want you stretching defenses and letting our midfield do the combinations. I want you getting in that penalty box and finishing chances rather than starting chances. That's exactly what I would be using Emegha for. So let's look at his shot locations and his shot maps. So let's look at his shot selections first. So what target of the area he hits. As you can see, he likes to strike the ball low and hard. He likes to beat the goalkeeper. Now, what I do like about this, there's not many strikes that go centrally. He's always like looking to put them in the corners, which is exactly what you want from your striker. I would just like to see a little bit more variation. You know what? I don't mind it. I don't mind that shot locations, the shot placements. I really don't mind it because I've seen it from the eye. It's hard to see what he's like when he's striking a ball by looking at this. You've got to watch him on the eye test. He's comfortable in the penalty area. Now, if we move it down one and look at his XG, he's underperformed his XG. He was expected to score 16 goals. He only scored 14 goals. So a little bit more composure, a little bit more placement and variety in his shots. That would improve. Now, where can he improve this side? Now, what are the positives about that second diagram? Look at the amount of times he gets inside that penalty area. In that 6-yard box, I love that. He scored 4 goals in the 6-yard box there. I was looking at who scored the most goals in the 6-yard box. The top 3 in no specific order were Alexander Isak, Emegha, and if I remember right, it was Harry Kane, but I could be wrong on that one. But as you can see, he likes to get in that 6-yard box. That's a positive. Now, you can clearly see where he likes to take his shot from, that left inside channel. Now, he is right-footed, so that means he likes to cut it on his right foot and take a shot from there. But what I will be seeing here is, can you get on the other side? Because if you can get on the other side, that means you can drive the ball across goal. And that just means you become a bigger threat inside the penalty area. So just a little bit more variation on where he's locating shots from would just add an extra dimension of when he's a biggest threat. And as you can see, he also takes a lot of shots inside the penalty area, which is what I like. So what you're going to get with him as a player, well, as you can see, I said he doesn't create much, and as you can see, he's in the bottom 5% now for shot creating actions per 90. He's not your natural playmaker. What he does do is score your goals. Now, again, I also said he didn't get involved in play. As you can see, that he takes minimal touches, minimal progressive passes, but when he does get on the ball, he's more of a dynamic dribbler where he likes to progress the team up the pitch. So he's happy moving the space with the ball at his feet. When it comes to using his brain a little bit about that intricate link-up play, he doesn't really naturally have that. So I would be getting him spinning behind, looking to move the ball into space, because once he's on his bike, no defender catching him. And remember how I said I would partner him with a traditional number 10. My next guy, Nick Woltemade, I would actually think him and Jacob Ramsey could strike a wonderful partnership, because Nick Woltemade is that type of player that wants to drop deep and link up play. When you've got a striker that wants to do that and has a preference of doing that, you need midfield runners in behind. What's Jacob Ramsey very good at? Arriving from deep, arriving in the box late. That's exactly what type of profile gets the best out of Nick Woltemade. I mean, Nick Woltemade is himself been involved in a little transfer drama this season as well, because Bayern submitted an offer of 60 million, including bonuses and a release clause. Stuttgart have refused to budge from their 75 million asking price. So he's valued at 75 million, which Bayern deemed outside the market for a domestic transfer. That's just Bayern trying to use their power. Woltemade had agreed personal terms with Bayern and was willing to waiver part of his salary to facilitate the move. So what does that mean? Does that mean he's taking a pay cut to go to Bayern? Not really, because what it will mean is when a player transfers, then the selling club pays like percentage of what he has left on his contract. So, for example, if Alexander Isak leaves to go to Liverpool, let's say Alexander Isak didn't want to leave, Newcastle United would say, well, we'll pay you 50% of what you got left on your contract and we'll accept that fee from Liverpool. Does that make sense? But if he did want to leave, that 50% would probably go lower because Alexander Isak wants that move. So that could be somewhere it varies from every player. So I'm just making the numbers off the top of my head. So it could be between 10% to 30%. But that's what that means. Now, this where it gets interesting because Stuttgart had previously indicated they would allow Woltemade to leave if a substantial offer came in. Stuttgart reportedly set a deadline to buy him before the Super Cup final, which Bayern refused to meet. And then they've had a little back and forth in press conferences towards each other. And then Woltemade's agent come out and said it was completely unfounded, especially given the player arrived on a free transfer. So the moral of all that, he's worth 75 million. Right, so let's look at what he would bring. Well, he's tall, he's languid, he's recognized as a target man, but he's far more than just that. Holder play, he's an excellent technician. He's slender, but he's strong. Drifts into midfield, links up play and initiate attacks. He's a transition threat, but he does it differently. It's not powerful like Emegha. He more glides between the lines. He loses markers, creates separation. He becomes an option for the guy in possession. He's primarily a central striker, but he can operate in a lone system or a two-tier system. Despite his frame, he boosts technical control, tight control, deceptive agility, and he can beat defenders in one-on-one situations. He's actually he moves like a winger. You wouldn't expect it. Like, with the ball at his feet, he is fascinating to watch because he dances with the ball. So he's a player that blends true striker instincts with playmaking flair, exceptional football IQ. Now, where he needs to improve, in my opinion, is risk versus reward balance, because sometimes I love his flair and I wouldn't want to take that away from him. Sometimes he can overcomplicate things when there is a simpler pass available. Shot selection, he's creative in carving out his own chances, but occasionally rushes in the final third. And then sometimes this is just a pet hate of mine when strikers are too easily forced away from goals. Sometimes he receives the ball with his back to goal inside the penalty area, and he lets the defender push him to a tight and impossible angle when really he should be the manipulative one in that situation. So let's look at his shot selection location. We'll start with his shot selection. And as you can notice, when he hits those corners, he's really, really accurate. What I like about Nick Woltemade's shots selections is he's very decisive, and as you can see, there's a large variety. Hits the top corners, hits the bottom corners. I would just like to see a little bit more of it, and I would just say, can you look to take away those central shots? Try and hit the corners at every opportunity. When we move on to his shot placements and locations, hit 49 shots. He overperformed his XG. He had an XG of 10, scored 12 goals, but I would like to see a little bit more volume. I want to see more volume in his goals. But when you break it down, it's actually really pleasing. You just need to have a little bit more oomph in when he takes his shots, because sometimes he's a little bit too laid back. As you can see, only one shot out of 49 came outside the box, so he takes a majority of his shots inside the box. Now, as you can see, they're very crumpled together. I like that because it's very centrally. Gives him a better target to hit. Now, there's one area for improvement I would be telling him here, and the first one is, can we get you in the 6-yard box a little bit more? Only 2 shots come in the 6-yard box. That means he's always looking for cutbacks. He's not hungry in getting himself in those dangerous zones. When you move on to his statistics, as you can see, it's absolutely excellent. When you want somebody to get on the ball, be comfortable on the ball, link up play, absolutely tremendous. When you want somebody to create shots for others, absolutely excellent. He's got a high expected goals, high shot creating actions, high progressive passes, high progressive carries, high successful take-ons, high touches per 90. Like, he makes an impact on every game. This is why I don't think you necessarily need a playmaking number 10 alongside him, because he can deliver that. If you have runners from deep, that's when the combination becomes a chemistry, and that's when the chemistry begin to complement each other's profiles. If you've got Jacob Ramsey playing with a profile like Nick Woltemade, they'll both get the best out of each other. Just a lovely footballer, a handful for many, many teams. But I want to move on to my next one because I'm currently scouting this guy for a club. And I thought, why not talk about him? Because do I think he can come in and hit the ground running in the Premier League? No, because I don't think he's ready for that. But if we bring in somebody like Nick Woltemade, for example, could we bring in somebody like Franculino to develop alongside Osula? This is what I'm talking about. So he's currently in Midtjylland, and he's currently being eyed up by Dutch teams like Roma, Leipzig, Dortmund. He's played 71 games, scored 41 goals, provided 12 assists. Now, this could be a smart investment. Is he ready to lead the line for a Champions League, Premier League side? No. Newcastle need a striker who can immediately fit into a system which relies heavily on converting low volume chances. Now, we can become that guy with good coaching. We all know how good of a coach Eddie Howe is, but you would have to bring in a proven goal scorer alongside. So I just wanted to touch upon what I've found about him, because he's got a nice blend and well-rounded profile. He can hold up the ball, absorb pressure, and link up play effectively. He's got a brilliant burst of pace and change of direction that allows him to separate from defenders in tight spaces and transition moments. He operates as a central striker predominantly, but he can play either wing, so that adaptability allows him to play in a rotational front line, which is exactly what Newcastle United are. Got a sharp first touch, quick and comfortable in tight spaces, clever link-up play. He's not a natural playmaker, but can facilitate attacking plays. Now, this is why I don't think he's ready for the Premier League, because the physicality, the tempo, the tactical demands of the Premier League could expose his inexperience. He's still raw with his composure, so he snatches at chances, and his decision-making in the final third needs refinement. And I'm going to prove that with his shot selections and his locations. As you can see, when he does hit the corner of the goals, he manages to find the back of the net. It's those shots in those central areas that I'll be looking to offload. But there is a nice variety on top corners, middle of the goal, bottom corner. But when you look at the second image, this is what would worry me. Now, the good point, he's overperforming his XG, but if you look at it, it's very sporadic. He's taking speculative shots from everywhere and anywhere. This is what I was talking about, the decision making. This is what you often get with young, inexperienced footballers. But he's got an outrageous scoring record with Michelin. He grew up in the Benfica Academy, and I was surprised to let him go because he was banging in the goals. But as you can see, he's highly confident. This is what you get with young footballers, especially strikers. You either get strikers that are very, very confident and will take speculative shots from everywhere and anywhere, or you'll get the striker that always plays safe. You need a balance between the two. And that comes with that decision making, which comes with experience and good coaching. But one thing I will say is he is lightning quick and he's got good movement. When I'm looking and scouting young footballers, especially strikers, the two things, if they don't have the tactical demands just yet or the intensity just yet, two things are killing football: pace and movement. If they've got that, they can provide something for you. And the biggest thing I find with the Premier League, right, this is going to sound so weird, it's just the way I think. When the pace of the Premier League, right, if you watch a Premier League game and turn off the sound and just listen to the game, it sounds like a music, but that music is, rhythm of that music is high intensity. Listen to the beat of the ball getting bounced between players. It's like boom, 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 boom. The intensity, the ferociousness, the velocity of the game is just absolutely insane. The tempo of the game is so high, it sounds like a wonderful beat of music. Now, if you compare that to a league like the Danish league, you don't get that same music. The rhythm isn't as powerful, the rhythm isn't as quick, and you get more time and space on the ball. So rather than taking one touch, two touch, the players are taking 4 or 5 touches so they can make their decision better. So if you put that player into the Premier League, he's only got that split second to make his decision. That's the biggest difference. I hope that makes sense. But guys, look, there's another episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. But my point is, there is strikers out there that we can go and spend money on. We just need to find the right profile that Eddie Howe wants to work with. But look, I've got a question for you guys. Would you welcome any of those strikers this window? Let me know your thoughts in the below, but I'll be doing another striker episode tomorrow. So if you've got any suggestions or have got any players that you want me to cover, let me know in the comments below. And once again, I'm sorry about how long these videos are, man. Anyways, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, away the lads.